it play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to this week's Sit and Talk. This is the show where you get to ask us questions and we just answer them. Usually wargaming related, maybe business related, but if you want to get personal, that's perfectly fine too. And if you're really not interested in finding out my viewpoints of stuff, then don't watch this show. Next week, Josh will be answering the questions, so if you have any questions for him, please leave that in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice the comments are disabled. That's because we want you to leave the comments on our website, simply because it's a lot easier to organize them and print them off, rather than using the YouTube comments for that. So there'll be a link in the description below. If you want to respond to anything I'm saying, you could also post in the comments, just start it with Matt rather than Josh, and that way I know you're responding. And as usual, I'm going to do 30 minutes of free stuff, and then for our Vault members, I have a bonus Sit in Vault, where I continue answering questions just from Vault members. It's either 30 minutes or however long it takes to answer most of the questions. So let's just jump right into this. The Eye of Night. Matt, what's the backstory behind the patented bat rep intro dance? Trademark. Put a little trademark sign. That's an interesting one. I can't remember the exact narrative campaign where I started it, but one of the narrative campaigns, I want to say it's Rise of the Blood Reaver, but honestly I can't say off the top of my head. I was just so excited that I was always like, I'm like, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and it's time for another episode of Rise of the Blood Reaver. And I just started to get so excited that I couldn't help but dance. And somebody in the comments pointed that out. And after that, I just made it a thing. It was as simple as that. Just decided to make it a thing. And it's, you know, it's fun. Some of the guests that come in want to participate. Some of them don't want to participate. Some look at me crazily like, what the heck are you doing? But it's just become something I do just for fun. There's really nothing else to it other than that. Just why not be a little quirky? ABPBM, Matt, thanks for the recent influx of 30k heresy. It's my favorite battle report. You're welcome. Our goal right now, we don't always achieve it because it's a little harder to find opponents for 30k than 40k, is to try to have weekly 30k. Whether that's the Friday content, which I'm not sure if you notice it, but our Friday content usually is either beat map bat reps or banter bat reps, and then Monday content is Steve, Josh, and Quirk's 40k battle reports. Usually. Sometimes Dave and I aren't able to do it because we're doing narrative campaigns or some other shows, but that's usually what we're trying to do. And one of those days, I try to make 30k. It doesn't always work, but I think we're getting it like 3 times out of 4 right now. Any plans of making a series narrative for 30k, especially now that you have more armies and models? I don't have a specific one planned yet, but I have one brewing in my head. And I don't know how many details I want to give you right now because it's really, really preliminary, but, well, I'll tell you. You understand that our schedule, as much as we have volunteers scheduled for the next few months, when it comes to narrative campaigns and stuff like that, those ones we're basically planning out just like a month in advance. And the reason for that is because there's always new armies coming out that can throw off the schedule, either for doing reviews or just for what we're going to include. And also it's about, the narrative campaigns are where I do stuff that I really want to do. So if I get an idea now that I'm excited for, I like to act on it right away, because if I wait 2 months, I might not be excited for it anymore. So I'm a little ADD in that area. So the one that's brewing in my mind, now Josh had given the idea, we have a group of guys coming in, a lot of them that play orcs, and we're thinking of doing like the Great Crusade battle for Olinor, I think it is. And that way we could pretty much, I'll have to look into the lore of it. I haven't read a lot of the lore of that, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the chapters were involved. It's pre-heresy, and so it's before anybody was traitor, which means all of our armies are usable as loyalist armies. But I don't know if all of the armies were there. I'll have to look into it. And so that might give us an opportunity to do something. But no promises, because we haven't planned it yet. But I would like to do a 30k narrative campaign. Also, give Quirk preferred enemy on every army. It balances out his poor dice rolls. Yeah, that might help. Sin Cities only. Good, insert correct time of day here, Matt. Well, for the filming of this, a good morning, Matt. And so good morning, Sin Cities only. But you might be watching this in the evening, so good, insert correct time of day here, Sin City only. You and Steve are both walking down the hallways of MiniWarGaming, not paying attention, and bump into each other, spilling both armies out onto the floor. Now he's got an Age of Sigmar and your 40k. We've gotten 40k and his Age of Sigmar. What does this resultant mess look like? And what Age of Sigmar and 40k armies would you field to try to combat this heresy of the two systems? Cheers from Vegas. Well, you know what? The Age of Sigmar, I know you're making kind of a joke scenario here, but the Age of Sigmar armies for Chaos and for the Sigmarites, that's what they're called, right? The ones that look like Space Marines, basically. I know that's bad that I can't off the top of my head name them. Just haven't really read and gotten a lot into Age of Sigmar. But anyways, those armies, I think, aesthetically almost fit perfectly into 40k. And so we'd try to bring those in, I think. We also have like ogres who kind of mix with the Ogryns and Bulgryns. So there's a lot of chance for crossover. Now, obviously, rules-wise, the games work totally different from each other, unlike how it used to be. Now, fantasies always work differently than 40k, but at least you kind of have stat lines that are comparable. So if you wanted to do a crossover, you could have an idea. And now those stat lines are totally different too. But model-wise, I've always thought that the Sigmarites looked like a really cool Blood Angel Space Marine chapter kind of thing. Like they totally just looked like Blood Angels, and well, the special Blood Angels. And then of course the Chaos stuff, all the Khorne stuff, that almost fits perfectly into 40k as well. So I'd probably try to mix those in there somehow. If I'm going to have Age of Sigmar invade into 40k, that would be kind of cool. But there's a lot of cool potential there as well for crossover games. And I don't know what Games Workshop's thoughts are for how these games fit together. I had always had the impression that Warhammer Fantasy, the old world, was basically a world that was surrounded by warp storms in the 40k universe. And so, or at least, I don't know what time in the 40k universe, but, and so you have, that's why you have Chaos there and Orcs. Maybe originally they thought to do that, but it seems that they're kind of starting to move them away as two different IPs, just with a similar kind of flavor with Chaos and all of that. But, or maybe Age of Sigmar is in the past, or heck, maybe it's in the future. Maybe mankind falls completely and it just ends up with this one old world, which eventually falls and dies and gets splintered into the Age of Sigmar worlds, or whatever the realms are. So, cheers from Vegas. Thank you, Sin Cities Only. Miso. Matt, why do you think it is that some MiniWarGaming videos go viral or get a lot more views than others? And do you and Dave ever try and create a high count video on purpose? Well, this might seem like a tongue-in-cheek answer, but every video we try to create a high video count, or a high view count. But of course we realize that some are going to have more potential than others. For example, we've been trying to do more review videos. It's our goal now to review everything that comes out for 40k and Age of Sigmar, pretty much when they come out. So Genestealer Cult coming out this week. I'm hoping to get videos up for this Saturday. And like obviously the Blood Angels and the Chaos stuff. Even Gore Chosen that came up for Age of Sigmar, the guys, like, they got it, they opened it, they made a battle report and review and put it up on that Saturday. So we're trying to give that kind of coverage. So those tend to have a opportunity to go more viral if you're thinking about viralness. But not a lot of our videos aren't really viral videos. A viral video is more like, oh, look at that cute cat, I'm going to share this with all my friends. Whereas a review video could qualify for that because, hey, look at this awesome review, I'm going to share it with all my friends. But it doesn't quite have the potential for viralness like some other stuff does. Whereas like the cockroach eating contest, you know, Dave did a few of those, just food contests, just for fun. Really nothing wargaming related, but just why not do them? That cockroach eating contest has gotten a ton of views. It's gone viral. So we can't really predict what will. The nice thing about the narrative campaigns and battle reports is that they just continue getting views over the long run. So a narrative campaign gets a lot of views, and then it just continues to get those views. Also things like, I made a little short series that I still can add to, is how to play Warhammer 40k 7th edition. Although I think I'm going to hold off adding to it because there's rumors in next year of being 8th edition, but we'll see. And that continues to get views because it's a good video to kind of point people to that are new to 40k, because it doesn't require a Vault membership to watch the how to plays. There's battle reports that I add on as well for Vault members, but the how to plays show you how to play without being a Vault member. And so those can be a little more viral. But we don't really try to focus on, our business model isn't about making viral videos. It's about making a lot of content that can then combine to get a lot of views as well. It's not that we're going for quantity over quality. It's more that, like when I think of viral videos, I think of things like channels that focus on doing fail videos, or channels that do like really high-end political content where they'll talk about things that are very charged, and so they might get spread around because of that. Those are the kind of channels I think of, and we're more like a sports coverage channel where the ones that get a lot of views are the games that are the most interesting, not so much because they've gone viral. So that's kind of the way that we see it. Now there's probably lots of opportunities in there to make viral videos. Maybe we could like look for funny clips from our battle reports and make those into 30-second or 1-minute videos. Because when you think about it too, a lot of our videos are long. They're 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour long. Those types of videos cannot go viral because somebody can't just see it on our Facebook feed, open it up, and watch it for 30 seconds and be done. And not that people are ADD, of course, with technology, but that's not the problem. Because when somebody jumps on Facebook or they jump on YouTube, they're generally looking just to kill a few minutes. It's not very often that they say, hey, I want to kill a couple hours. Let's go on there. But once somebody becomes a viewer and they're familiar with our type of content, they might set aside some time to go and watch that. So it's a different type of viewing. It's kind of like TV shows. TV shows, you don't just jump on at your break at work and then watch just a few minutes of a TV show. You'll usually just like browse and go through your Facebook feed, watch some shorter YouTube videos. I know for me at least that's how it works. And of course everybody's going to be different for this, but to go viral you have to have the majority of people acting that way. So that's kind of our business model there. Maybe there is something to be said there about making some funny videos. That might be something you've just given me that idea. So thank you for sparking an idea there. I know that's not what you're saying necessarily, but it still had me go into that way of thinking. So continuing Miso's comment, on your YouTube site there are how to plays and apocalypse that have a lot of views, but there are also terrain tutorials and normal battle reports up there. Why do you think a normal Dave battle report with Astra Militarum has hundreds of thousands of views, whereas other battle reports seem to max out at around 30,000? See, there's also something else you have to consider, and that is YouTube's algorithms, and they are constantly changing. What we've found, and they've gotten better, but in the old days, if a video got to a certain point in number of views, I don't know what that threshold is, all of a sudden it would like kick into YouTube's algorithms and it would start showing up in more related videos. It's kind of back then, and it still works this way a bit, but back then especially, it had a rich get richer kind of feel to it, that if you could get an initial large number of views on it, then when you're watching videos on YouTube, of course, there's all those related videos. That related videos bar is a huge source of traffic for our videos. We get a lot more views from people clicking on related videos than we do people going to our YouTube channel, like going to youtube.com/MiniWarGaming and finding our latest videos. Also, the feed on the home page when you're logged in, or heck, even when you're not logged in, just looking at your history, it's based off of a bunch of things, but one of them is popularity of the videos. The more popular a video, the more likely it is to show up in related content, as well as the YouTube homepage feed. There are more things to it than that, because I've seen very unpopular videos show up. It might just be related to what I've clicked on. If they think there's an algorithm basically that compares views, likes, how relevant it is to the things that you've watched, and looking at your viewing history, and so on and so forth. And back in the day, it seemed like it was a more simplistic algorithm, which makes sense because it was a while ago, that basically if you had a lot of views, you had a really good chance of showing up in related videos. So we were showing up in related videos all the time. And so once a video got to a certain number of views, we had this one that I think was Tyranids versus Necrons, and it wasn't that good a battle report, but it just kept getting more and more views to the point where I stuck a huge annotation over it saying, this is an old battle report. Click here for a newer one. Like it was like 2 editions old, and it was still getting a ton of views on a monthly basis, which sucked because I didn't want that to be people's first impression of MiniWarGaming because it was an old video. So we don't really have control over that. YouTube's algorithms kind of have this magic formula, and also it's so complex that even YouTube probably can't always predict exactly whose videos will go viral. And so it just depends, time of day that we put it out, day of the week that we put it out, the season that we put it out, all these things have an impact on what makes a battle report go viral. So sometimes just a regular battle report goes viral, and other ones don't, whereas narrative campaigns go viral and other ones don't. So it's a very complex process, which the more I think about it, the more it frustrates me because it gives me very little control over that kind of thing. So all we really do is we try to focus on what content we think people would love, and we base that off of what content we think we would love to make and what we get excited for. That is the key thing to make. And then we, of course, try to focus on how to film it better, how to edit it better, and how to produce a better product. And then we kind of throw that out there and hope that our efforts to make good content are rewarded with views and with vault members and all that kind of stuff. P.S. Please give some hints on the RPG show, and check out Node's Call of the Wild on YouTube if you want to see the best RPG campaign on the internet. Well filmed, well edited, and a great story. I'll check that out. I looked at Geek and Sundry's, what's it called? Oh, brain. Geek and Sundry had like one that's like 65 episodes long. Critical Role, that's right. Critical Role, and that one was done by. Those were just unedited. They were done live. They're 3 hours long each, and they just have a bunch of cameras to have everybody at the same time. And those got a lot of views. By a lot, I mean like the first one has a couple million, of course, and then they kind of taper off to about 500,000 each. And then the much later ones are like a little lower. But when you go 65 episodes in, obviously your later episodes aren't going to get as much as your earlier ones. But I'll check out Call of the Wild for sure. Now, hints about the RPG show. Well, there are some hints that you can see right now just by looking around of some ideas that I'm having. But that's all I can really say because honestly there isn't much to say yet. I've been looking, I've been reading some books, trying to get some ideas, and trying to kind of wrap my head around when we would do it and how we would do it. Because our schedule is pretty booked as we've been doing a lot of extra shows like the Blood Bowl show that just started. We've been trying to do more reviews. And then there's Valhalla next week that Dave and Quirk and Rob are gone to. And then Quirk's gone on a week on vacation. Steve has gone a week on vacation just this week that this is being released. And so we're swamped right now just trying to get other stuff done. But I do really like the idea of doing an RPG show. I really do. But there's not really much to say about it yet because it hasn't gone beyond that, really. And if Total War boosted fantasy views, is it worth you guys painting up a Blood Ravens army for the release of Dawn of War 3? It could drive more traffic to the site. Well, that's a good idea. When is Dawn of War 3 coming out? I know it's soon, but I just don't know exactly when. But that is definitely something that we can think about. Lots of good ideas from you guys. The viral thing that's come in my head, and then the Blood Ravens thing, and 30K narrative. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff here. Next comment. Daniel, TMU. Matt. Hold on a second, just checking the time. I have a question about Space Marine command squads. The Codex states that one veteran can take a standard and one veteran can be upgraded to an apothecary. I've always understood that the apothecary is no longer a veteran and is therefore not able to take the standard. But a friend of mine pointed out that because of the order it's written on the datasheet, the one veteran can take the standard and then one veteran gets upgraded to the apothecary. So there's nothing raw, rules as written, stopping a player from upgrading the veteran with the standard to become the apothecary. What is your take on all of this? I disagree. I can see that it's arguable. But you can see that they actually sell the command sprues, and there's an apothecary, there's the standard bearer. But that's not it. I think because, like for example, a captain who takes Terminator armor no longer has access to other upgrades. And so you could have said, well, I'll take the melee upgrade first, or whatever upgrade that I'm going to take, and then I will take the Terminator upgrade. And although it might state something like and replaces all his war gear or whatever, but still, the other question that comes up is, can an apothecary take special weapons? Because he's listed as an apothecary, and it says a veteran can take special weapons, and you don't normally see apothecaries take a special weapon, but that question remains of whether he can. It seems like the answer is no, but it's kind of weird. So my thought is that no, a standard bearer and apothecary cannot be the same model. And I also don't think the apothecary can take special weapons because he stops being a veteran and becomes an apothecary. But it could be argued. But that is my take. Sparian, hi Matt. I've been a Vault member for a couple of years. Awesome. Thank you so much for your support. And really enjoy a lot of the content that you guys create. So thank you. I'm also fairly active on the MiniWarGaming website forums. However, lately it seems to be getting slightly quieter over there. I notice that there appears to be a bit of a disconnect between the forums and your main website. The forums, I'll continue reading your comment in a second. The forums have always been a bit of this gray area as to what we're trying to accomplish with them. It seemed like, yeah, when we first started, we definitely wanted forums, and that still is the case. But there's just so many other wargaming forums out there, and some of them that are just far bigger than ours, like Daka and Warseer, two that come to my mind immediately. And so you're competing against that, because when you are somebody who peruses forums, you're more likely to go where they're the most popular. Heck, I even do that. I go to Daka and Warseer when I want to check out stuff. I don't often post on forums. I post a lot on our own forums, especially in the Vault member only area. But that's more just because I want to encourage it on our site, not so much that I'm a forum person. So I notice that you yourself go and post updates, respond to comments, particularly in the Vault members area, but other content producers very rarely or never go on there. Would you consider promoting this area of your website a bit more in your videos, perhaps by running some competitions or linking the forum into a narrative campaigns, for example, taking forum suggestions or letting forum polls to dictate minor events within a narrative campaign? Thanks again, Sparian. That's a hard one. I'll give you an example of something I tried to do recently. when we're preparing for our Space Hulk Death Watch campaign, and I wanted to redo, really update the Death Watch rules that I had from Augustine Station. So I started to do it, but I kind of ran into some roadblocks of ideas. For example, I added a bunch of new chapters, but I didn't know what to do for their chapter tactics and all these other things. I also had some upgrade charts that I needed help filling in, and just suggestions for things like what should a Tech Marine be able to do. And so I posted on Facebook. What I did is I posted on the forum in the 40K section saying, hey, I'm looking for ideas. And then I posted on our Facebook page saying, hey, if you have any ideas, please go and check out the forum. And I had like 2 people respond over the course of a few days. And so that wasn't really helpful. And then I had the idea, maybe I should just start a Facebook group that is solely dedicated to helping to create these rules. So I create a Facebook group, and then I post that on our page saying, hey, if you want to help with these rules, go and join this group. And I had, within a short period of time, like 50 to 100 people who joined, and even more after that. And I had so much participation, like a ton of participation and a ton of good ideas on what to do for it, that I think I'm going to do that from now on. And so I have this feeling that forums are starting to get a little outdated. Now, they have use in certain areas. Don't get me wrong. I don't think forums are going away. I just think that they're no longer going to be like the one place. Like there's so many other things in our social media that allow us to perform certain functions. Like Facebook has come in and totally replaced a lot of things. But you have Facebook groups rather than, like you still have a forum as well, but Facebook groups are way more effective for that type of quick, rapid communication. But Facebook groups suck at organizing stuff because everything's just latest to the newest to oldest. Whereas in a forum, you can separate things into categories, into subforums, all that kind of stuff. And so forums do have a purpose, but we're trying to more figure out all of this technology that's coming in, and it constantly changes because we have to basically use it the way people use it. We're not like Walmart where we can plunk down a store in a low traffic area, and then all of a sudden it'll become a high traffic area, and everybody else swarms to us. We're not the mover and shaker when it comes to the social media area. We don't get to be like, well, we're going to use a forum, and that'll make everybody else want to use a forum. We're not big enough, and we're just in a small market. So instead, we have to look at how these things develop and somehow figure out exactly how it all fits into our strategy. And it's become a lot more complex than just having a forum and a blog. Now it's having a forum, and then some people, and even blogs have totally changed. They've come almost in and out of popularity, but they still work for certain aspects. And so I don't know, is the short answer. If we, on our videos, focus on the forum, it's at the expense of focusing on something else. Like, for example, maybe we'd rather get people on our email newsletter. Or maybe I'd rather get people on our Facebook page. Maybe that'll be a better marketing tool and a better tool for communication than the MiniWarGaming forum. So I don't know the answer to the question. It's still something that we're figuring out. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on it because some people don't even use Facebook, some people don't use forums. And so everybody's going to want to have their method used properly. Like, for example, Twitter. We barely use Twitter. Like, we have something to automatically post new content to Twitter, but I haven't figured out how to use it that would actually be effective. Sure, we can post funny tweets, and those get shared and stuff, and people follow us, but then to what end? Because when I track people coming from Twitter to our website and sign up for the Vault, and track people from Facebook and track all these things, they all tell very different stories. So it's a big question mark that we constantly have to reevaluate as the technologies do change. So there's my long answer to your question. 99 Arcturus. Matt, I'm beginning to read The Beast that Rises. What is your opinion on them since you've read more than that last time you talk on it? So I'm on book 10 right now. I love the series. Book 10, I'm having a hard time. Normally, I get one of the books and I read it within like a day or two because they're very quick reads. The first book was fantastic. The second book was fantastic. And then I'm just trying to think. Out of the 10 books, I'd say that there are 3 that are less than fantastic. The 10th one is probably my least favorite so far. I've been having a hard time finding it engaging. I'm not sure if that's because I just had a 4th kid and maybe I'm a little more busy, or my mind is more distracted, or if it's just because the book isn't as well written. I'm not quite sure. But I still love the series, and I love where it's going. Hopefully the 11th and 12th book will be able to really bring it to a good finale. So we'll have to find out about that. But overall, definitely a series worth reading. Like I said, out of the 10, it's just 3 that are less than awesome, and then the other ones are just awesome, especially the first one. The first one was just fantastic. And then what other one was fantastic? I think it was The Hunt for Vulcan. Yeah, The Hunt for Vulcan, I think. So that would be book number 7. Was another one that I really, really enjoyed. And how do you think the game balanced with the new Chaos and Blood Angels? That's more a question for Dave, because I haven't really played the new Chaos and Blood Angels. It looks like the Chaos got a nice update, but the Blood Angels got an even better one. That's the impression that I have. And what do you think would need to happen for the Tyranids to catch up? The Tyranids need a few things. They definitely need an update. Like, their models are okay. There's a few things like the Toxicrene, the Maliceptor, even things like Raveners that they could use an update to either be like dropped in points or increased in effectiveness somehow. Genestealers. Now we have the Genestealer Cult, so Genestealers aren't going to play as much of an important role, but just some points realignment would be nice. A lot of things are okay points-wise. But the big thing that we're missing is we have formations, and they're pretty good. Some of them are pretty good. But, I don't know, maybe our own detachment, as much as I'm not a huge fan of these new detachments that have been coming out, that could help. And that whole detachment gives some sort of special benefit. Like right now we only have access to the Combined Arms Detachment, Allied Detachment, and then the High Fleet Leviathan Detachment. And the High Fleet Leviathan Detachment is pretty crappy. It allows you to bring an extra HQ, so people use it to exploit bringing 3 Flying Hive Tyrants. But its command benefit is that you get to re-roll and failed instinctive behavior. But if you're rolling instinctive behavior, then you're probably losing horribly. So it's not a strategy that I'd really want to go with, unless I was planning something like bringing a lot of lictors or things that have level like leadership 10. So their instinctive behavior is most likely going to go off if you have a leadership 10 re-rollable. And so they need a new detachment of some sort that brings a detachment of formations, or just a detachment like a Force Org one that gives better benefits, just to make them more competitive. They need some new psychic disciplines, I think, something more useful than the powers of the Hive Mind. The powers of the Hive Mind have some good powers in there. I'm thinking particularly the Psychic Scream, Paroxysm's good, Catalyst is okay, Warp Blast is okay. If it's just tough to pull off effectively without like a huge group of zone throws or something. So I'd say any of that kind of stuff would help to buff them. But it's going to be tough. The armies like the Space Marines, I'm surprised that Tau has gotten more love than Tyranids. It seems like the Tyranids are a bigger deal than the Tau in the 40k universe. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Tyranid player, but I mean like the Tau are just kind of in their corner, whereas the Tyranids are everywhere. So you think they would have gotten a bit more love. Same thing with the Orcs. I guess they're everywhere, and they just kind of haven't gotten a lot of love. They like to pour the love on the Space Marines, but then they've also done that to the Eldar and the Necrons and the Tau. So it's just where it's weird. It's like, at first you could say, well, it's the Space Marine fanboys. They're pushing all the sales for those, and so they got to keep those updated. But the Space Marines are powerful, don't get me wrong. But then you've got Eldar, Tau, and Necrons that are also powerful. So Orcs and Tyranids, which seem to be kind of the threat, besides Chaos, that the galaxy is facing, you think that they would have that kind of update. But it is what it is. It's a game. It's a rule set. They're in the business of selling models, so they're going to update the codexes that make them the most money. And they've done their numbers. They might be right, they might be wrong, but it is what it is. I'm super excited though for the Genestealer Cult that is coming out. We've got a couple minutes left. Speaking of which, Sparkman28. Well, the time has finally arrived. Well, at least arriving. Genestealer Cult Codex. Just how excited are you? I am super, super excited. I don't expect it to be super powerful, but I love the fluff of the Genestealer Cult, and it looks like they're doing some really cool stuff with it. With the Acolytes and Neophytes, having access to Chimeras and Leman Russes and Sentinels, and then a new vehicle, the Goliath. Well, let's read the rest of your comments first. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on the review video that obviously you will be doing. Keep up the awesome work. Oh, and I can't wait for Augustine Station sequel. Any idea when it's due for filming? I can answer that one quickly. We'll probably start filming it. The goal is to have that one come out in November. So that should give you an idea right there. For Genestealer Cult, yeah, I'm excited for. I love their because I've seen a lot of the leaks. It talks about like their cult ambush, which allows them to go into reserve and then pop up all over the board. It's a little random, but it should be fun, especially if you're playing an objective game like a Maelstrom game. Then it gives you a lot more control of the board for objectives. I think that's where it'll be most useful. And then their detachment, of course. I'm looking forward to seeing what the formations do. By the time you're watching this video, hopefully we'll have even more details on it. But my goal is tomorrow, which will be Saturday, for us to have a battle report and a review out, just like we have for Core Chosen, Blood Angels, and Chaos, as soon as possible afterwards. And then, of course, we'll cover even more of it over the coming weeks as more of the models come out. So I'm very excited. And that is all the time we have for this free portion of the Sit and Talk. So now I'm going to jump into the Sit and Vault, which you can get at the link in the video description below. If you're not a Vault member, you can still click it. We offer a free 7-day trial. No strings attached. You have to use PayPal or credit card to put it in, just like any other free trial like Netflix and stuff like that. But you can cancel at any time and get a full refund. You can cancel any time in that 7 days and not even get charged. And then even if it charges, you can actually have up to 30 days to get a full refund. Unlike Netflix, we don't offer any refunds as soon as you're charged. We do within the first 30 days after. So you really have like 37 days to try it out before you're stuck having paid for that first month or that first year. So go ahead and check it out. It really helps support us. That is what allows us to do all of this. So we need even more people in there so we can continue expanding our staff, expanding our models, and our video coverage as well. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, click the link, and I'll see you in the next video.